Hi everyone. So last week I saw a film, or rather I saw the first parts of a film called, and what little I saw of it reminded me so much of a book that I had read long back and loved. And that book is called The Guns of Navarone, written by Alistair Maclean. So today I will tell you about this book. I'll tell you the plot of this book and I'll tell you what kind of a book it is. And if you like it, you should go and read it. It's a small book. It's just 254 pages and it's so amazing. Okay, so this book was written by Alistair Maclean in 1957, and this was very successful, and this was a bestseller, and this was the first Alistair Maclean I read when I was in school. It was one of the later editions, and I loved it, and I loved it so much that I went on to read all 29 of his novels, most of which I loved. Some of it some of those have also been made into movies. Coming to the Guns of Navarone, the plot is about this group of five men who have to do a seemingly impossible task. Sounds familiar, right? But this was one of the first books which was written like that. And this has been written really well. Coming to the plot, the Guns of Navarone. The Guns of Navarone are in a very strategic place for the Germans. It is on this island of Navarone, which is a part of the cluster of islands in the Aegean Sea of the Turkish coast. And what happens is the Germans control most of the clusters there, the islands. But there is one island called Kheros, which has got 1,200 British soldiers on it. And these soldiers have to be evacuated before a particular day because the Germans are planning an all-out assault on them. So there have been many attempts made to destroy the Guns of Navarone because these guns give the Germans the all-important advantage. These guns can destroy anything that comes in that area. And because of the natural formation of the land, it's in a cave. It's in the mouth of a cave. So because of that, it's difficult to be accessed by planes or even by the Navy. Numerous attempts have been made, all of which have ended in failure and in the loss of lives. So now we have got this band of five men. Keith Mallory is from New Zealand. He's an expert mountaineer and he's a great soldier and awesome leader of men. Then there is Andrea. Andrea is Greek. Andrea can speak Greek fluently and he is a fighting machine. He's this huge person, okay? He's had a very tragic past. His family has been annihilated by the Germans and he's out to get them. So he's fought with the resistance, then he's fought with Mallory in many places. So they make a very good team. Then we have Corporal Dusty Miller, who's from America, and he is the ammunitions expert. He is also an excellent soldier. Then we have got Casey Brown. Casey Brown is the communications expert. He's also an engineer. And last but not the least is Andy Stevens. Andy Stevens is the youngest of the lot. He's a British soldier. He's a world-class mountaineer and he knows Greek fluently. So these five men are setting out with absolutely no support. And they have to access these guns and destroy them. Now the plan of Captain Mallory is to climb the southern side of Navarone, which is 400 feet of sheer cliff. Okay, and that is why so many mountaineers have been chosen. So this plan has been conceived by Captain Jensen, who is the Chief of Operations of the Special Operations Branch in Cairo. So this band of men, these five men set out. They set out in the dead of night because they do not want people to know about it. There are spies all around. Okay, they set out on this ancient boat dressed as Greek fishermen. And on the way, they meet a German boat, which tells them to stop. And then the German officer addresses them in English, telling them to stop in English. And for a moment, Keith Mallory's heart stops. Because this is a classic ploy. These Greek fishermen are not supposed to know English. So this is a classic ploy that is used to see whether they are spies and whether they are soldiers. And Mallory feels that Stevens is too young to know all this and he's sure that Stevens will fall for it. But Andy Stevens, does a brilliant job and they get through the Germans. Then they have to get through more Germans. Then there is a storm and then they lose part of their equipment, very, very crucial equipment. And in that storm, they have to scale this 400-foot cliff. My God, the tension, it's like edge of the seat tension. I have read this book. I know what is going to happen. And yet I felt that tension so much. And while climbing, Stevens is hurt. And then they reach the cliff top. It's raining, they are wet, they have lost their equipment. And then they have to face these tiny German units. And the action is so fast. And in the middle of all this, there are these moments of kindness between the men. And you see how beautifully they interact with each other. There is a portion where Andrea is addressing Andy Stevens. Now, Andy Stevens is born in a family which is very, very alpha male. His father and his brothers are constantly doing rugged, adventurous things, and they look down on him initially because he's scared of that. And then that is when he finds an area where they cannot beat him, and that is mountaineering. But each time Andy Stevens scales a mountain, he's scared. And he's always hidden that fear within him. So there comes a point when he wants the others to know that he's hurt, he's wounded, so he wants them to leave him behind. And he feels that if he tells them the real reason, they will definitely leave him behind. He tells them that he's scared all the time. He says, I'm not like you, I'm scared all the time. And I'm wounded, so please leave me behind. And this is what Andrea replies. Okay, so I just want to read it out to you. Quote, he looked across at Stevens and smiled. There are no brave men and cowardly men in the world, my son. There are only brave men. To be born, to live, to die, that takes courage enough in itself and more than enough. We are all brave men and we are all afraid. And what the world calls a brave man, he too is brave and afraid like all the rest of us. Only he is brave for 5 minutes longer, or sometimes 10 minutes, or 20 minutes, or the time it takes a man sick and bleeding and afraid to climb a cliff. Stephen said nothing. His head was sunk on his chest and his face was hidden. He had seldom felt so happy, seldom so at peace with himself. He had known that he could not hide things from men like Mallory and Andrea, but he had not known that it would not matter. So they do not leave Stevens behind. They take him along. They're captured by Germans. They escape. They have to meet more Germans. There are so many things happening. They're again joined by two people, two locals who are with them, who fight with them. There are so many instances where they have severe setbacks, and yet they doggedly go towards the Guns of Navarone to complete their mission. Do they reach the Guns of Navarone? Do they destroy the guns? I know it's very obvious because it's an action thriller. It might be very obvious, but there are so many things along the way which are very surprising. A lot of twists, beautiful twists. It is a complete action thriller. So what I want you guys to do is go and read it. The Guns of Navarone by Alistair Maclean, which is a small band of men trying to destroy the Guns of Navarone over 4 days. Excellent, excellent book. A film has also been made from this book, which is again called The Guns of Navarone, and Gregory Peck stars as Keith Mallory, which is so good. Then David Niven as Dusty Miller and Anthony Quinn as Andreas. So the movie is also good, but please read the book for the way in which it is written, for the wit, for the action, and for the descriptions of the men, which are so good. The characters are, I really like the way the characters are developed. And, even Mallory, so real. He acknowledges the mistakes that he has committed. He accepts blame when he's done something which he should not have. As the leader of this band, there are so many things there's some things, not so many, but some things which he also, goofs up. The way they all treat Stevens. And there are instances where they see enemy soldiers as very decent men, who have been forced like themselves to fight for a war. These were not things that I had thought about when I read it in school, but now when I read it, these are things that stay in my mind. So go and read Guns of Navarone by Alistair Maclean. And if you like it, do come and tell me. I'd love to hear about it. And till we meet again, bye-bye.